Round and round the ABK deal goes. When it stops, no one knows. Seriously, nobody knows when this whole saga is going to end. They're trying to say that now at this point, it's looking like October 18th before the deal is going to be able to officially close because of the CMA and all their shenanigans. So this has now led to Xbox making a confusing yet ridiculous announcement when it comes to what is going to happen exactly with the ABK deal and the situation with cloud gaming. So in an attempt to somehow appease the UK regulatory authority known as the CMA, also known as the World Regulatory Policeman, Microsoft is trying to get over the hurdle they created by transferring the cloud licensing rights to all of ABK games to Ubisoft for at least 15 years. This is to somehow appease the CMA and showing that Microsoft will not have exclusive rights or access to do with ABK games as they please, and somehow Ubisoft is supposed to play some mediator to this whole idea, and Ubisoft themselves would then have to license the games back to Microsoft if they want them to appear on their cloud services like Game Pass and xCloud. And also, this means that Ubisoft will be responsible for not only licensing the games to Microsoft, but anybody else who wants to have access to those titles as well. This is also going to help open the doors for other platforms that don't use Windows like Mac and also Linux to be able to have access to the licenses to these games for other cloud services that might run on those systems. But also be noted, this is where some of the confusion comes in. This is not just a solution that is meant for the UK. This is actually a worldwide remedy because this is actually what the CMA wanted. They didn't want just some solution that only affects the UK. They wanted something for the rest of the world, and Microsoft is going to appease that. But also, Microsoft did point out that all the other obligations and agreements that they made with like Ubisoft, Nintendo, Nvidia, and all the other cloud platforms that we've heard come out during the whole proceedings with the ABK deal, all of those commitments will be fulfilled as well, because again, that's what the EU wanted. During IGN's coverage of Gamescom with Destin Laguerre, he was able to interview Phil Spencer, where Phil Spencer stated that this whole move with Ubisoft is really meant to widen the breadth of access for gamers in the gaming communities and the gaming industry as a whole to be able to access and play the games they love where they want. Microsoft President Brad Smith even weighed in, highlighting that this restructuring is aimed at addressing concerns about cloud gaming and streaming competition with the intention to be preventing exclusive control of Activision Blizzard games on xCloud Gaming and other rival platforms. And that is where, we can obviously see that Microsoft is very committed into getting the ABK deal across the finish line. And contrary to popular belief, yes, cloud gaming is something that Microsoft is interested in, but it's more like a small source of revenue that kind of add on to what Microsoft is really trying to do. If anything, this totally proves that Microsoft has a much larger, broader picture in mind, and probably more than likely, the whole reason why they are trying to go through all the trouble to get this deal across the finish line is for possibly the advantage that Microsoft and Xbox is going to gain in the mobile gaming market. Now let's get to the second part of the confusion, for me at least, and also where this is going to become, in my opinion, completely ridiculous. And this is where it's shifting gears back to the CMA. This group of individuals, the regulatory body that they are, everybody at this point is starting to refer to them as the World Regulatory Policeman, because apparently the CMA feels they need to speak for the rest of the world when they are honestly the losing vote. Not to sound mean, but in my opinion, it really feels that when it comes to regulatory bodies across the world, the weight your opinion should have should be based on the amount of money your economy creates for the global market as a whole. You shouldn't just be walking around with this chip on your shoulder with some newfound independence, believing that you know what's best for the world when you are completely out of touch with the facts and how things really work out there in the world, especially when it comes to cloud gaming. It's hard to believe that at this point, the CMA is still hung up on the conversation of cloud gaming, when honestly, it is nowhere near where it needs to be for it to be some ground-breaking platform that everybody's going to flock to. As a matter of fact, Phil Spencer actually doubled down on letting people know that they are going to continue making hardware at least for the foreseeable future when it comes to console gaming. So therefore, there is no big plans for cloud gaming to be this groundbreaking platform. Not only that, but we can plainly now see that even Microsoft is not as invested as cloud as everybody thought, because at this point they're transferring the rights off to all those games, showing that yeah, it's something that they want, but it's not something that they're hinged on. This is where it's getting ridiculously frustrating with the situation that the CMA has created during the whole proceedings of this deal, because now it almost feels like they are dragging their feet, because we were supposed to get a little bit of an answer towards the end of August, and now we're finding out at this announcement that the CMA is going to hold off all the way into October, which is pretty close to the deadline that Microsoft hatched out with Activision when they extended the agreement. Microsoft and Activision came together and agreed to extend the deal a full 90 days to kind of battle what the CMA are doing. And it's like the CMA is going to push the envelope and get it really close to that date where everybody is going to become extremely uncomfortable. I mean, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? But at least for now, we can say that the deal is at least on schedule, because Microsoft and Activision obviously planned for the CMA to drag their feet, which is why they asked for 90 days, which ironically pushes us into October. So obviously their lawyers and the people over there that are helping them monitor the situation kind of predicted that this is going to be how the CMA is going to play their hand, and boy, were they right. So everybody, if you're enjoying today's content and also want to stay up to date in all the shenanigans with the ABK deal and the news that comes out of it, please stay tuned right here on this channel. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, all that fun stuff that YouTube likes to see happen. Also, please be sure, in card of this video, look at my latest video, explore my channel. And as always, everybody, please remember that the console war out there that's taking place on social media is nothing more than dogma. Just be sure to play the games you prefer on the platforms that you love. I am Centurion1307, and thank you for watching.